PTSD looks like everyone or no one. For example, you could go out and go people watching, just watch thousands of people go by, and you wouldn't be able to pick out who has PTSD and who doesn't just by looking at them. The way you can tell if somebody has PTSD, what it looks like, is by their personality.
You probably notice a difference in my personality because I'll start to stutter. I'll get angry, or I'll just start crying. One of those three.
You can sometimes literally kind of dissociate and kind of cut out emotionally if there's in situations of conflict. You sort of disengage. There's out-of-body experiences. There's depersonalization where you kind of feel numb, or like a surreal aerial view of yourself.
It's the emotional stuff that really sticks with me. I had patients that were being mistreated, and I was emotionally invested in these people. It's kind of crazy because a lot of people don't have sympathy. For me, having sympathy for them because they were Iraqi prisoners. And that just makes me more sad. For people.
The last thing I heard before I was buried was a loud boom that sounded a lot like thunder. I relive it in my head after the thunder. Each time it would clap, it would start over and over and over. So it was horrific. I see what happened back then.
How I react every time I get shaky. I lose my breath. I start feeling the pressure. I take deep breaths to try to, I need to breathe. I'm not breathing. I tend to hold my breath when it happens.
I can talk to just about anybody. I am a little shy, but I can talk to people. But if a girl starts flirting with me, I'll just black out and I will just completely shut down.
You can't pick out who has PTSD by just looking at them. PTSD feels like you're crazy. It feels like you're alone. It feels like you're the only person that are having these feelings, that nobody else will understand you.
I thought I was the only one going through this. I had never heard of PTSD, I've heard of shell shock, but didn't really associate shell shock with PTSD. So I thought I was the only one going through this. I thought, I was just some weirdo that, was determined to go through life tortured in my own head.
A bomb went off inside of me. Like all of a sudden, all of this happened, and I had to deal with it. Everything that I had repressed, I could no longer deny it. Like all my power of denying it was completely gone at that point, and it wasn't letting me say, okay, I can deal with this by not thinking about it.
You feel afraid to go to sleep because you're going to have the nightmares? You feel afraid to go out anywhere because you're going to have a panic attack, an anxiety attack? A lot of times you'll feel guilty because you can't go out like you used to. You feel angry because you can't control it. You feel guilty because you're not able to invest yourself emotionally in a relationship like you were before the trauma happened.
You go through trauma, that trauma can stay in our body. If we're in a motor vehicle accident, that gut feeling, for example, when the car crashes, or in any sort of physiological somatic response. And I think a lot of times we don't always have conscious awareness until our body triggers.
You feel crazy because you're not normal anymore. Not like you used to be before the trauma. That was your normal. But once a trauma happens, whether it's one big trauma or a bunch of little traumas, you don't feel normal anymore because you're not like you used to be.
The best way that I know how to explain it is almost like I was wearing this costume of who I used to be. When I came back, I was wearing this costume of who I used to be. And slowly over time, the costume just deteriorated. And it started to slip, and my mask, eventually fell off. And then I was this gaping wound of trauma. Everything upset me. I couldn't walk down the street without seeing something that would send me into tears. I couldn't drive. I just couldn't function as a person.
I was raped 31 years ago, and every night for the last 31 years. I have that nightmare, and in that nightmare, I'm raped every night, over and over again, for the last 31 years. And I can't stop it. I can't control whether or not I have that nightmare. And it's really tiring. It's exhausting to have that happen over and over again. It's just really exhausting. Take a break. What can people do that either have PTSD or think they have PTSD? You can try medications.
Antipsychotics, I've been off of them for many years because I didn't like the way they made me feel. Because I was always tired before, I was always grumpy, I was always irritable.
The one true thing that really helped me was meditation.
You can try going to a group where there's other people that have PTSD. The main thing is to get support and validation. And it's important to learn that you're not the only one that's feeling like this. You find out that other people feel like this. It doesn't matter what the cause of their PTSD is. But they have a lot of the same feelings and the same fears and the same guilt, the same depression, the same isolation, the same anger.
I have a very good friend that has PTSD, and we talk through a lot. And actually, he doesn't have any military background, so his PTSD comes from a completely different place than I do. But how we treat it and how we open up about it is exactly the same.
Another important thing is to find either family or friends that will help support you. They may not understand what you're going through, but if they're trying to learn and they're trying to find out how they can help you, a lot of times all you need is for somebody to say, how can I help? They don't have to do anything. They just, how can I help?
If someone undergoes a traumatic experience, if they have someone that's supported and validated in their lives, either professionally or personally, afterwards, that they can sort of process and receive social support from, that's a big protective factor against developing PTSD at some point. And it's also an important part in the aftermath, even with chronic PTSD, that's been delayed, years later that can manifest from an earlier life experience of trauma.
If you're not getting the answers you like, look for other answers.